Wow. 12-1. 12-1 to the Marlins. 5-hit day for Luis Arraez. It is a Sunday, but it felt like this was the perfect day for a Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked On Marlins. This, of course, is your daily Marlins podcast. I'm your host, Peter Pratt. Hit me up, of course, on Twitter at Miami Marlins_UK. If you're listening to the podcast version, hit subscribe. Of course, this is your team every day. And thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. As I mentioned, this is a Sunday extravaganza, guys. Felt like this was a good time for a podcast. So much positive energy from yesterday's game. No doubt about it. There is a YouTube channel. Head on over there as well. Hit subscribe there also. You will see the sexy new graphics are still being trotted out, which is great to see. And the rundown for today, Marlins going for the sweep today. UK-friendly sweep with Sandy going. As I mentioned, for those that listened on the Friday episode, thank you to the Everydayers for joining me. I'm predicting, or I can see 10 wins on the spin for the Marlins if they play well. They're already 2 down, 2 games, 2 dubs. Sandy looking to make it 3 dubs today against the A's. Yes, it's only the A's. Going to get into that. 5-hit day yesterday for Luis Arraez, and it was a stunning performance. He had a chance for 6, but the Marlins yanked him, didn't give him that opportunity. Eury Perez, let's talk some Eury as well. Boy, oh boy, another win for Eury Perez. That's his 3rd win. His ERA is way below 3. It was 5 innings of scoreless ball for Eury Perez. Love to see it. Want to dig into Luis Arraez also. Should we be talking about Luis Arraez in the MVP conversation? We're absolutely going to be talking about him in the All-Star conversation. And then also from the Herald, an article that dropped this morning. Kim Ang talking to some of the media guys. Jordan McPherson with the article. The main piece that I wanted to dig into was extension talk. Kim Ang talking about how extension conversations not yet initiated with both Jorge Soler and Luis Arraez. Tons to get into today, guys. Absolutely tons. Before we do that, time to talk about our show sponsor for the Sunday episode. And it's our good friends over at Gametime. And you can download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. More about those guys later on, but let's start right at the top with Saturday's game, 12-1 dub. Yes, it was the A's, but I do not care. We have to celebrate success. You have to beat who is in front of you, and this is what we need to see from the Marlins. We need to see them not struggling against the weaker teams and the teams that are not in the hunt. We need to see them, flexing their muscles. This is the time. Can the Marlins... can you watch these games and clearly see this club is significantly better than the Oakland A's? And the answer to that is a resounding yes. The A's came into this series off a series win against the Braves. Boy, oh boy, baseball is a weird situation, and the Braves somehow messed that one up. The Marlins absolutely pummeling the Oakland A's yesterday. 12-1, huge dub. And there's a lot of storylines in there, but the main one being Luis Arraez, those 5 hits, 5 for 5 day with 5 RBIs. He's up now to hitting 390 on the year. This is absolutely insane. And a 5 for 5 day. And when you see these hits too, they're all, there was bottom of the zone, there was top of the zone. It was everywhere. This included 3 doubles. One of them almost got out too. There's a chance, as we look to this season, Luis Arraez, there's a chance he could go double cycle in 1 year. I would not rule that out. That Luis Arraez goes double cycle. The Marlins have never had one in their history. Before this year, before Luis Arraez, it would not shock me if Arraez doubled down and they end up with a double cycle, all from Luis Arraez this year. He's actually only hit 1 home run this year, and it was in that game. He almost had his 2nd home run of the year yesterday. Didn't matter in the end. And actually, he had a chance to have a 6-hit game. But the Marlins didn't give him that opportunity. And they pulled him for Garrett Hampson, who walked, which was nice to see. But just from a Luis Arraez perspective, This guy he's so much better than I mean, I've not seen anything like this. I've not seen anything like Luis Arraez. Like that 5-hit day yesterday, just haven't seen anything like it, to be honest with you. There's no like bloop singles knocking around. Just Arraez, you can't, where do you pitch to the guy? His eye is incredible. His hands are so fast, and he's able just to get the balls and barrel them up all the time. Opposite field, gaps everywhere, you name it. He was early in the year, it was like a load of stuff. Around first base, he was managing to find that gap. Seems like now he's trying to look. He's going oppo as well. He's hitting gaps in the outfield. I mean, yesterday the A's had him playing. The bases were juiced. The center fielder was playing in really shallow. Actually, Luis Arraez gets it over his head, clears the bases for 3 RBIs on that knock. Luis Arraez should be in the MVP conversation at this point. He is the best hitter in baseball at what he does. There's no one like him. He's miles head and shoulders over everyone at what he does best. Other people will point to other attributes, i.e. the home runs and the power, etc., etc. And that's fine, and I get it. But for me, as a pure straight-up hitter, Luis Arraez is the best in the game right now, easily. Kim Ang should be applauded for making this move. It was a risky move. They had to sweeten the deal. It wasn't just Pablo, 1-for-1. They still had to sweeten it. And Kim, she went and got her guy. Has to be applauded. I've been spinning a lot of Kim Ang hyperbole recently because it's deserved. Kim Ang, as a trader, is elite. 80 grade trader. I don't think the Marlins have lost one. Well, actually, no, that's a lie. They have lost one. Adam Duvall trade. That's the main big fat L for Kim. Other than that, all dubs. All dubs. A few pushes in there maybe, but mainly all dubs. Again, you have to go back to being, making that decision, making that call, being able to go and add the prospect with Pablo to go and get a Luis Arraez. He should be in the MVP conversation. You go look at WAR, he's like 41st in WAR in Major League Baseball. Nowhere near if you judge players based on WAR. 1.7, I think he was. Nowhere near the top of the pile. What does that say about WAR? I don't know. I don't know what it says. But for the Marlins, for this lineup, and for the type of hitter he is, he's absolutely elite. And he should be in the MVP conversation because, he's carrying this offense at times. He's been carrying it all year. We're into June. He's hitting 390. 390 into June. This Marlins club, 3 games over 500. They have a chance to go 4 games over 500 today with Sandy Alcantara going against the Oakland A's. There's a really strong chance the Marlins will be 4 games over 500 in early June. They haven't been in that position since 2016. Since 2016. This club is trending, baby. This is the funny thing about baseball and fan bases. Baseball, because it happened, your club is playing every single day. You sometimes lose track of what's happening across the league. Like the A's come into town, and I was thinking, I've not seen the A's at all this year. I've no idea who half these dudes are. The same with the Nats when they came into town. I don't know any of the Nats really. 1 or 2 of the guys, but it's funny, right? You assume that teams are bad because they've always been bad. And then all of a sudden, they aren't bad. It's the very nature of American sports where it can flip real quick. And I think we're seeing that with a few clubs this year. And I think the Marlins are in that pot. A lot of fan bases around the US and around the world that follow baseball, like, oh yeah, the Marlins, yeah, they're, okay, a couple of decent pitchers, but the offense is putrid, no fans, they're a bad club. All of a sudden, you look around and go, holy smokes, the Marlins aren't bad anymore. They aren't. I mean, I've been saying this for years, of course, but it's funny how teams are bad until they're not. And this year, the Marlins absolutely are not bad. And they're still missing some studs, still missing some guys. They're about to go 4 games over 500. Like I said on Friday's episode, it's not going to stun me if the Marlins go 10 dubs in a row. The dub tracker is absolutely being fired up, no doubt about it. Let's talk about our good friends over at Gametime again. Let's get some sexy graphics queued up as well. And guys, if you're looking for tickets, this is the right place for you. Buying tickets to your favorite events, it shouldn't be stressful. And Gametime is fast and easy way to buy tickets for sports, music, comedy, theater near you. They've got killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee. Stop stressing over tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Forget planning months in advance. I don't do that anyway. But Gametime has deals right up to the day of the event, and you can get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And the Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Can't say fairer than that. Here's what you have to do. Pretty simple. You download the Gametime app. You create an account. And you use this promo code, LOCKEDONMLB, and that gets you $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets. Lowest price. Guarantee. Stunning. Okay. It wasn't all just about the offense yesterday. However, other notable, I guess, performances. We have to talk about Joey Wendle. 3-hit day for Joey Wendle. Boy, oh boy, it's great to see Wendle going. 3 hits. He scored on all of those 3 hits. His average now is up to 217. We are trending, baby. Insert rocket emoji. Joey Wendle's had a rough go of it. No doubt about it. But yesterday, there were signs of April 2022 Joey Wendle. This would be huge because he's struggled mightily. Huge struggles. Gene Segura also. But these guys are pros. They've been in the major leagues a long time. And you give it long enough, they will come good. And the top of the lineup is delivering. Arraez, as we've already talked about, absolute stud. No doubt about it. Jesus Sanchez doing his thing. De La Cruz, Soler, Gurriel. Top of the lineup is looking nice. The Marlins can start to get some production from the bottom of the lineup. Then, boy, oh boy, that completely changes things for this offense. And they have huge opportunities in the next couple of series, right? The Royals are there to be beaten. Obviously, we've got the final game against the A's here. The White Sox are there to be beaten. That's going to be a tougher one. I think that's a trap one, actually, in many ways. Like, it's a bit like that Padres series. But we'll wait to see what kind of White Sox show up. You've then got the Mariners. You've then got the Nats. Like, there's some series here where the Marlins offense can really piece it together and do some damage. We'll wait to see if they can. But for me, notable performance there. Joey Wendle with a 3-hit game. Love to see that. Also on the pitching side, Eury Perez. Boy, oh boy. This dude, it blows me away. I'm completely blown away every time I watch Eury Perez because I realize the dude has only just turned 20. It's insane. The guy's up at the big league level. He's made 5 starts and he's given up a couple of home runs here and there. That's it. Other than that, it's almost been flawless for Eury Perez. And let's not forget, he's been on the road in, on the road in Coors. Is that correct? I think it is. On the road in Coors. On the road against the Angels. Ohtani and Trout were in there. He struck them both out as well, by the way. Eury Perez, he's just a unicorn at this point. There's no one like him. And it's completely blown my mind. 5 games in, 3 fat dubs, and a 2.25 ERA. It's insane. He's more than ready. The Marlins are going to look after him, and we know this. And this is really where the discourse will continue regarding Trevor Rogers, Eury Perez, maybe Braxton Garrett, maybe a trade. Who knows? I want to talk about that as well, because something flashed up with the Cardinals on Twitter this morning that got me thinking. But I am just completely blown away by Eury Perez. And in reality, he hasn't even got his changeup going yet. Like, he's kind of doing most of this without his changeup. He's pumping the heat. He's pumping everything. And I'm intrigued to see the way that the Marlins handle him. They rightly have to try and look after him. And we don't want to burn all of the bullets in the first part of the year. And then he's, out of innings at the back end. But overall right now, for me, and I shared this last night on Twitter too, for me, I just keep rolling with the hot hand. Eury Perez right now, he's the hot hand. 2.25 ERA. No one in the rotation, the current rotation, is sniffing that. They're not. So Eury's earned this spot, and he deserves to stay in this rotation until he maybe cools off. Maybe the league adjusts to him a touch. Maybe he has a struggle or two. We'll wait to see. But we haven't seen any struggles thus far. We've just seen 5 solid starts from a 20-year-old kid. It's absolutely insane. The Marlins have done it again. Eury Perez, Edward Cabrera, Sandy Alcantara. The 3 of them. The 3 amigos. It's like baby goat, mini goat, goat. I don't know if that's the right way of, it's like Russian dolls. The Marlins have got the Russian dolls here. Not sure if that phrase, we're allowed to use that anymore, considering the wider geopolitical issues that are going on. But you know what I'm saying? How have the Marlins done this again? How do they continue to roll out these studs? I do not know. What's going to happen with Eury Perez? I don't know. The way Craig was talking a few days ago, I felt like it was going to be maybe Eury Perez goes down. But if he continues to perform, then he's just giving it the, I'm not leaving. And see that absolutely happening. And he shouldn't be leaving. Wait to see how the Marlins do play this one, though. Some interesting notes as well from Kim Ang via the Herald. But I think Kim spoke to various media members. But I did notice the article specifically with Jordan McPherson this morning. So thanks, Jordan, for sharing that, of course. Some interesting bits in there, but the main one that caught my eye was around the question around extension conversations. The pre to this question, and I assume this was written in chronological order. I don't know, I wasn't there. But firstly, it started with, is this the Jorge Soler that you were expecting when you signed him as a free agent? And Kim said, no, it wasn't. This is a better version of Jorge Soler. It's the better version. We didn't anticipate this. The 2022 version, hitting 200 and some bombs sprinkled in there, was what they were expecting. Right now, they're getting more bang for their buck than they anticipated with Jorge Soler. She credits the hitting staff for that. Already talked about it as well. The work that they've been able to do with Jesus Sanchez in particular has blown me away. Jesus Sanchez was pretty much on the cusp of being DFA'd. He looked like it was a wash. He looked like he was cooked, fully cooked. And all of a sudden, Jesus Sanchez has found a way to unlock something in his game where he's hitting opposite field more often than he's hitting pull side. It's insane. And this is Brant Brown and the staff. The same's happened with Jorge Soler. I saw it early on in the season with Soler. I was like, this isn't the same Jorge Soler. The Marlins and Brant Brown and this crew, they've somehow turned this hitting group into opposite field mashers. Oppo with the Bobo extravaganzas from this group. And, I mean, boy, oh boy, just imagine if Brian Anderson had stayed around. What they could have done with Brian Anderson. He'd have had 15 opposite field home runs by this point. He loves those Oppo Bobos, Brian Anderson. But you have to tip your cap to Brant Brown, to Skip, to all of the guys working there with the offensive group and the hitters. It's been clear and obvious the impact they've made. And the Marlins, for years, how many years have we had it? Guys have come up, can't make adjustments, flame out, gone. It's been so frustrating. So frustrating. For once, finally, they're actually being able to make adjustments in year, turn the needle, to make adjustments and succeed. This is so impressive. It's so impressive to see. It really is. Anyway, going back to Kim Ang, I've gone off on a slight tangent there, but I had to call it out because, Jesus Sanchez for me is the beacon of that. Brian De La Cruz, was hot already, but has carried it through. Luis Arraez. I mean, and maybe this is the Arraez factor too. Maybe it's having someone in the clubhouse and the guy that you see every day, like Luis Arraez, you're able to lean on him and understand what he's doing. And you can, try and replicate that. I'm sure there's some of that too, where they're trying to pick his brain and understand what's happening and how he's reacting and what his game plan is, etc. But anyway, going back to it, Kim Ang, the Jorge Soler situation, he's outperforming what they expected from him. He's outperforming his contract at this point. Jorge Soler has been great this year. And the Marlins don't have a ton of guys like him. And if he's going to be hitting, what's Soler hitting now? He's hitting 9 on 250. If he's a 250 hitter with this amount of home run production, 250 with 35 to 40 home runs in a season. Boy, oh boy, that's just immense production. The Marlins don't have a ton of that. They haven't built their club in that way either to have a lot of that. But Skip's already called it out. These are game changers. He's a game changer where a swing of the bat, 2-3 run home run, game flips on its head. The game will be close because the Marlins pitching will keep it close, and then the bullpen will take over. And that's what they're looking for. This is a long-winded way of saying that Kim Ang was asked directly about extension conversations and whether they'd commenced around Roy Soler. As we know, he has an opt-out at the end of this season, which he will opt out of. We all know that that's going to be the situation. And Kim acknowledging that extension talks have not yet started. I don't know if they intend to, but at this point, they haven't started. They also haven't started with Luis Arraez, and that's a different situation. He's got 2 more years of arbitration control, so he isn't an expiring deal, much like Roy Soler. How do the Marlins play with Soler? I mean, for the everydayers, they will know, and they've heard me say, I've been talking about it for the past couple of months, where it was clear that Soler, A, was better than he has been in the past, B, he's going to opt out of his deal, and C, the Marlins don't have another Roy Soler in the organization, and D, he's been so important, and he is so important. Even though the Marlins want to play the high contact game, ball in play, you still need guys that can put the ball out of play over the fence from time to time because it can change games, and they will need that. And those guys typically are expensive, and those guys typically don't want to come and play in Lone Depot because the numbers can be suppressed. How do they play it? I don't know. I get the sense that, from Soler's perspective, if I take the Marlins out of this, if I'm Roy Soler, I'm just saying, let's just see what happens. Let's see how things go. Do I want to commit right now to the Marlins? That's up to him. And that's going to be up to him in terms of what his drivers are, his motivating factors are. But fundamentally, Roy Soler knows that he isn't going to get the best offer from the Miami Marlins financially. There's going to be other clubs out there that will look to commit more overall dollars to Roy Soler than the Miami Marlins. He knows that. He knows it. So the question will be is, Roy, do you want to stay here and play for the next 2-3 seasons? I don't know. I actually don't know. How's it going to play out with him and the Marlins generally? Again, I don't know. This is a precarious situation for the Marlins in some ways, because if something goes drastically sideways in July and all of a sudden the Marlins slip way out of it, they go on a crazy cold streak, which can happen. We've seen it with other clubs and we've seen it with the Marlins too. Then Roy Soler at that point is a really valuable trade piece. So this is why it is a real precarious situation for them, because do they want to extend him? Do they want to overpay to extend him? I don't know. Probably, well, clearly not. Does Soler want to stay? Don't know. Equally, the Marlins want to give themselves some flexibility in terms of at the deadline, if they need to flip him because things have gone sideways, then they can. If all of a sudden 70 million or 60 million or 50 million is attributed to his name in future years, that may make him slightly less valuable. We'll wait to see. One other note before we get out of here on this Sunday episode, guys. Thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. And I appreciate you joining me, and I appreciate the everydayers, and I appreciate everyone sticking with me, even though the schedule was a slight tad off. It's hard to do this show daily on your own and actually have a social calendar in life as well. So you feel my pain, perhaps. But one other note, Avisail Garcia, speaking about extensions. No, I'm not going to talk about an Avisail Garcia extension. Speaking about free agents and extensions and whatever, Avisail Garcia has had a setback in his AAA rehab start. The setback was, by all accounts, linked to his back, but the setback could have been he was over 3 with 3 Ks. And actually, the setback was Avi's still struggling for whatever reason. I did want to call out with Avisail Garcia specifically that he had hit 2 home runs in his last 5 starts before he hit the IL. And if you remember, wide stance Avi, he made some adjustment. And in many ways, it was showing signs of encouragement, of success. What we've seen with all of the other group is progression, offensive progression. And so I do wonder if, once Avi's back and healthy, if actually Brant Brown and the guys can find a way to get Avi back, fully back. And actually, was he already trending back? But an IL stint just kind of stopped him in his tracks. That, again, will be a really interesting thing to watch. It really will. If the Marlins can get Avi back, 25 to 30 home run Avi, hitting 250, that's another stick that they can absolutely use. They've been mixing and matching all over the show with Hampson and Jonathan Davis and Xavier Edwards, all these guys. But, I think to have another home run hitter in the lineup, or at least off the bench, I think that would be valuable. Not sure what's happening with Garrett Cooper. We've not seen him 4 days in a row. He hasn't gone onto the IL. He was around the bench yesterday. So maybe the Marlins just thinking, okay, the A's series, we feel confident that we can handle this. We'll wait to see. I mean, the Sunday game is going to be interesting. Gurriel's been out there at first base a lot. I wonder if Luis Arraez perhaps maybe slides over to first base today and someone comes in and plays second base instead. We'll wait to see. But, we're still hoping the Jazz is progressing. He's on his way back, hopefully. So this offense, in theory, could and should be getting better. Coop back in the mix, Avi back in the mix, Jazz back in the mix. This is all trending in the right way. The Marlins winning games. Really interested to see, can Sandy Alcantara give us a 2022 Sandy today? Can we get 2022 Sandy out of it? Can we get 7+? Can we get 8 against the A's? Can the offense continue to produce? So many questions. Looking forward to today's game. Yesterday's game, I sat there and just enjoyed the fact the Marlins spanked someone. The offense was alive. It was humming. It was great to see. Eury Perez was leading the charge as well on the mound. Guys, it's going to wrap us up for today. But of course, it's Monday tomorrow. So it means I'll be back tomorrow, of course, recapping Game 3 against the A's. And also looking ahead to the Royals. I have not seen one Royals game for many years, it feels like. So I'm going to have to take some time to dig into that roster and see what those boys are up to. In the meantime, guys, enjoy the game today. Enjoy the rest of your weekends. And I'll see you next week.